inside the English town that couldn't recover. This town was once so rich it helped clothe an empire. Now parts of it struggle to clothe themselves. The same streets that once thundered with machinery now sit unnervingly quiet. Chimneys that defined the skyline are gone, replaced by empty lots and cautious optimism. In a single lifetime, security turned into uncertainty, pride into persistence. This isn't a story about a fading seaside resort. This is Burnley, a former industrial powerhouse in Lancashire. And what happens when the industry that built you disappears faster than anyone imagined? The town that wove the world. Burnley didn't just join the Industrial Revolution, it helped drive it. At its peak in the late 19th century, this Lancashire town was a global centre of cotton production. Fabric woven here travelled across the British Empire. If you stood in the streets back then, you didn't need to see the mills to know they were there. You could hear them. The relentless crash and rattle of thousands of looms echoed through brick walls from morning until night. Chimneys pierced the skyline. Smoke drifted low over tight rows of red brick terraced houses built for mill workers. The Leeds and Liverpool Canal cut through town like an industrial highway, carrying raw cotton in and finished textiles out. Burnley became one of the richest towns per capita in the world during the cotton boom. Skilled weavers, many of them women, earned dependable wages. Shops thrived. Markets were crowded. Entire families organised life around shift whistles and factory gates. The system felt permanent. Cotton wasn't just work, it was identity. It shaped neighbourhoods, politics, even pride. Generations assumed the mills would outlast them. But prosperity built on a single industry carries hidden risk. When the world shifts, dependence becomes exposure. And Burnley was deeply exposed when the mills went silent. The decline didn't arrive dramatically. It crept in. Global competition increased. Former colonies began producing their own textiles. Synthetic materials changed demand. Orders shrank. A mill closed here. Another reduced shifts there. For years, many believed Burnley would adapt. It had survived downturns before. But this time, the foundations were different. The global economy was changing faster than local industry could respond. By the mid-20th century, the golden age had clearly passed. By the 1970s and 80s, textile manufacturing across northern England was collapsing. In Burnley, weaving sheds emptied. Chimneys were demolished. The industrial roar that defined everyday life faded into silence. That silence was heavy. Thousands of jobs vanished within a generation. Skilled workers who had expected steady employment faced redundancy. Trades that once guaranteed stability offered nothing. Families built around predictable wages had to adjust quickly, often without viable alternatives nearby. One former worker described walking past his old mill years later and hearing only the wind rattling loose metal where machines once shook the ground. When an industry collapses, it takes more than income. It takes structure. It takes purpose. Burnley had to ask a question it had never prepared for. What replaces everything? Rows of empty houses. Industrial decline doesn't just reshape factories, it reshapes streets. As employment opportunities shrank, younger residents looked elsewhere. Cities like Manchester offered broader prospects. Demand for housing dipped. Property values fell. By the early 2000s, Burnley gained a bleak distinction. Some of the lowest house prices in England. Terraced homes that once represented security sold for astonishingly low sums. At one point, you could buy a house for less than the price of a small car. On paper, that sounds like opportunity. In reality, it often signals distress. In neighbourhoods such as Danes House and parts of Stonyholme, boarded windows became common. Entire rows stood half empty. Paint peeled from brickwork. Gardens grew wild. The energy that once pulsed through tightly knit communities felt thinner. Low property prices created a cycle that proved difficult to break. Cheap homes attracted short-term landlords. Short-term ownership discouraged long-term care. Deterioration reinforced negative perceptions, and perception shapes momentum. When homes lose value year after year, confidence erodes quietly alongside them. Burnley's physical landscape began mirroring its economic uncertainty, and rebuilding confidence takes far longer than building houses ever did. The 2001 riots. Tension doesn't explode without warning. It builds. By the late 1990s, Burnley faced unemployment, deprivation, and social strain. Economic stagnation sharpened divisions. Opportunities felt limited. Frustration simmered. In June 2001, unrest broke out. Over several nights, cars burned, shops were damaged, and police lines formed under harsh orange streetlights. National news cameras captured flames reflecting off wet pavements. Burnley became shorthand for disorder. But unrest rarely stems from a single cause. Economic hardship had created insecurity. Insecurity deepened mistrust. When stable industries disappear and investment slows, communities can become brittle. The reputational impact lingered long after calm returned. Investors hesitated. Businesses reconsidered. Burnley's name became associated with instability rather than industry. In modern Britain, perception can influence opportunity as much as policy. The riots didn't define Burnley entirely, but they complicated its recovery. And rebuilding reputation is often slower than rebuilding roads. Stuck between Manchester and momentum. Geography shapes possibilities in subtle ways. Burnley sits among Lancashire's Pennine Hills, surrounded by dramatic scenery. But economically, it occupies an awkward position. Manchester, less than 25 miles away, reinvented itself with remarkable speed. Its skyline filled with cranes. Media companies relocated. Tech firms expanded. Universities drew international talent. From Burnley, that growth feels close enough to touch. But proximity isn't participation. For years, transport connections limited seamless commuting. Businesses gravitated toward Manchester's infrastructure and networks. Investment followed momentum. Burnley often felt just outside the main current of northern regeneration. A local entrepreneur once said, "We can see Manchester thriving, we just don't feel it." Connectivity is currency in the modern economy. Fast rail links, digital hubs, clusters of skilled workers. These shape growth. Burnley improved its connections over time, including faster rail routes. But timing matters. By the time links strengthened, investment patterns had largely settled elsewhere. Burnley wasn't isolated, but it wasn't central either. That in-between status made revival harder. The generation that left. When opportunity narrows, ambition looks outward. For many young people in Burnley, education became a gateway out. Universities in Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, and beyond offered broader job markets and clearer career paths. Professional networks formed elsewhere, and many graduates didn't return. This pattern isn't unique, but its impact compounds over decades. Skilled workers build careers in larger cities. They buy homes there. They start companies there. Their economic energy strengthens other places. Meanwhile, Burnley's demographic profile shifts. Walk through the town centre on a weekday afternoon and you sense a quiet absence. Fewer young professionals, fewer new ventures, retail adapting to fragile footfall. It's not a shortage of talent. It's a challenge of retention. Rebuilding after industrial decline requires risk-takers and innovators. When many leave, reinvention slows. Burnley didn't just lose mills, it risked losing momentum. And without momentum, recovery can stall. Regeneration. But not complete recovery. Efforts to reshape Burnley's future have been real. The Weavers' Triangle, once dominated by derelict mills, became a focus for regeneration. Historic industrial buildings were restored, offices and apartments replaced decay, canal paths reopened. Queen Street Mill preserved working machinery, turning industrial history into heritage. Infrastructure improved. Business parks attracted smaller firms. Rail connections to Manchester strengthened, symbolising reconnection. There are tangible signs of change, but regeneration is not the same as full recovery. Burnley still ranks among more deprived areas on several national measures. Average wages remain below UK averages. Health statistics reflect long-term economic stress. Retail faces pressure from online competition and shifting consumer habits. Regeneration projects can revitalise specific zones. They can modernise facades and create pockets of growth. But rebuilding a diversified economy after the collapse of a dominant industry is complex and slow. There's also a psychological dimension. When decline spans decades, optimism becomes measured. Progress is welcomed, but expectations remain grounded. Burnley is no longer in freefall, but it hasn't fully reinvented itself either. It stands in a space between resilience and uncertainty. And that space defines daily life. Pride, football, and holding on. If you want to feel Burnley's pulse, go to Turf Moor before kick-off. Burnley Football Club, founded in 1882, carries more than sporting weight. In recent years, the club has competed in the Premier League against teams backed by global wealth. On match days, claret and blue scarves line the streets. Pubs fill early. Floodlights glow against low Lancashire clouds. The stadium sits woven into surrounding terraces, close enough that chants echo through residential streets. For 90 minutes, statistics about deprivation fade into collective belief. Football doesn't replace industrial jobs. It doesn't solve wage gaps, but it anchors identity. It reminds residents that their town still commands national attention. Burnley's resilience lives in these details, in independent shops that persist, in families who stay rooted, in restored mills standing beside empty ones. The town didn't collapse spectacularly. It eroded gradually, as globalisation shifted production and investment concentrated elsewhere. That gradual erosion makes its story powerful. Across England, in former coalfields, steel towns and docklands, similar patterns exist. Industrial decline, uneven regeneration, communities balancing pride with uncertainty. Burnley isn't uniquely broken. It is profoundly representative of post-industrial Britain. And that's why its story matters. Burnley didn't implode in flames. It faded, adjusted, endured. Its mills are quieter, its challenges layered, its pride still visible in everyday moments. Walk its streets and you see loss and resilience side by side. Across England, other towns face the same question Burnley still wrestles with: what truly comes next? Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.